Have you ever wondered why your adult children don't call as often or seem more distant lately? What if the problem isn't their busy schedule, but something you're unknowingly saying? In today's story, we uncover 5 surprisingly toxic phrases that many elderly parents use without realizing the damage they cause. One of them is so harmful it could silently push your children away forever. Keep watching, because understanding this could be the turning point that brings your family closer again. Let's begin with the first phrase that may be quietly damaging your connection with your children. After everything I've done for you. At first glance, this might sound like a natural expression of hurt or disappointment, especially if you're feeling unappreciated. But family therapists warn that this phrase often comes across as a guilt trip, a form of emotional manipulation that turns parenting into a transaction. Instead of nurturing love and understanding, it sends the message that your support came with strings attached. Dr. Rebecca Martinez, a family therapist at Northwestern University, explains, when parents say things like, "After everything I've done for you," they create a mental scoreboard. It's as if they're saying, "You owe me." That kind of emotional debt builds resentment, not gratitude. Take the story of Gregory, a 76-year-old father from Phoenix. For years, he wondered why his adult son avoided his calls. During a rare dinner together, Gregory mentioned, "After everything I've done for you, the least you could do is call me once a week." To Gregory's surprise, his son responded with frustration, explaining that the constant reminders of past sacrifices made every conversation feel like a burden. What Gregory thought was a plea for connection had actually driven his son further away. With guidance from a counselor, Gregory learned a more effective approach. He stopped referencing past sacrifices and started sharing his genuine feelings. Instead of making his son feel guilty, he said, "I really miss hearing your voice. Would a Sunday call work for you?" This simple shift changed everything. The guilt was gone, and their relationship slowly began to heal. If you've ever caught yourself using this phrase, don't be too hard on yourself. It's more common than you think. But remember, parenting is a lifelong act of love, not an investment expecting returns. Your children don't owe you for raising them. They want to connect with you, but they need that space to be built on mutual respect, not emotional obligation. You are still watching this video and finding these insights valuable? Please comment below to let me know you are here. And if you are not yet subscribed, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Your support helps us continue to create good content to inform and inspire you. Just as guilt-laden phrases like, "After everything I've done for you," can create emotional distance, there's another expression that can instantly cause lasting damage. "Your spouse is turning you against me." This one, perhaps more than any other, puts your adult child in an impossible position, choosing between the partner they built a life with and the parent who raised them. Following from Gregory's story, we see how emotional pressure, no matter how well-intended, can backfire. But with this phrase, it's not just pressure. It's an accusation that strikes at the heart of your child's autonomy and loyalty. Relationship experts warn that suggesting your child is being manipulated by their spouse not only disrespects their judgment, but also threatens the integrity of their marriage. Dr. James Wilson, director of the Family Systems Institute, explains, when a parent says something like, "Your spouse is turning you against me," they're not just criticizing the partner, they're indirectly saying, "I don't trust you to make your own decisions." This builds resentment and emotional walls, often leading to prolonged silence or even estrangement. Take the story of Barbara, a 68-year-old grandmother from Seattle. She was heartbroken that her son had stopped visiting and blamed his wife. often saying things like, "I bet Sarah doesn't want you to spend time with me anymore." These passive-aggressive comments seemed harmless to Barbara, but her son began distancing himself further with each remark. Things escalated when Barbara publicly accused her daughter-in-law of keeping her son away, resulting in a devastating 18-month break in communication. She missed holidays, birthdays, and even the birth of her first grandchild. It wasn't until Barbara entered counseling that she understood the impact of her words. With support, she acknowledged her fears of being replaced and learned to reframe her communication. Instead of blaming, she began saying things like, "I really value both of you. I'd love to find a way we can all stay more connected." This shift made all the difference. Her son no longer felt like he had to defend his wife, and Barbara's effort to support rather than compete with the marriage helped restore trust. The lesson here is clear. Your child's spouse isn't the enemy, they're family. When you honor that bond, you strengthen your connection instead of threatening it. Following Barbara's painful realization, it becomes clear that words rooted in blame, whether directed at your child or their spouse, can quietly corrode the very relationships you're trying to protect. But not all damaging phrases sound accusatory. Some come disguised as innocent reflections like this one. "In my day, we did things differently." At first glance, this may seem like a harmless trip down memory lane. After all, sharing stories of your past can be a meaningful way to connect with your children. But when this phrase is used in moments of disagreement or unsolicited advice, it often comes across as criticism rather than conversation. Dr. Sophia Chen, professor of intergenerational studies at Boston University, explains that while nostalgia can be a bonding tool, this particular phrase tends to draw a line between then and now, implying that the old way was better and today's choices are flawed. It unintentionally sets up a generational competition, she says. Parents become critics, not allies. Take Timothy, a 74-year-old grandfather from Nashville, as an example. He was eager to help with his daughter's children and often gave advice unsolicited. Comments like, "In my day, we didn't need all these fancy baby monitors," or "Kids had more respect when I was raising you," slowly built a wall between them. His daughter, feeling judged and undermined, began limiting conversations and declining offers for help. Timothy didn't mean harm, he simply believed his experience had value. But the way he shared it felt dismissive of his daughter's parenting style. The turning point came when she sat him down and shared how these remarks made her feel. With this new understanding, Timothy changed his tone. Instead of declaring how things used to be, he began asking questions. "How do you manage screen time these days?" Or, "Would it be helpful to hear what worked when you were little?" This subtle shift curiosity over comparison made a big difference. His daughter felt respected, and Timothy's wisdom found a more welcome space in their conversations. The lesson here is that honoring your child's modern choices doesn't mean discarding your own experience. It just means offering it as a gift, not a judgment. When you stop comparing generations and start connecting across them, you invite your children to engage instead of withdraw. As Timothy's story shows, even well-meaning words from the past can unintentionally create distance when they're framed as comparisons instead of conversations. But what happens when frustration and loneliness begin to shape the way you speak? That's when another damaging habit often surfaces, using absolute statements like, "You never visit," or "You never call me." These phrases may seem like simple expressions of hurt, but they often have the opposite effect of what's intended. Instead of drawing your children closer, they push them away by making them feel like they're constantly falling short, no matter what they do. Dr. Michael Ramirez, a renowned family psychologist, explains, When parents use absolutes like never or always, they distort reality and put their children on the defensive. Even if they called last week or visited recently, the statement erases that effort. Over time, this leads to guilt, frustration, and ultimately emotional withdrawal. Consider Evelyn, a 70-year-old widow from Chicago. She deeply missed her daughter and often felt lonely. Out of that sadness, she would say things like, "You never call me anymore," even though her daughter had just texted or spoken with her the previous week. Over time, her daughter began to dread the conversations, anticipating guilt rather than warmth, and started calling less, not more. The turning point came when Evelyn's close friends suggested she start writing down each interaction. What she discovered surprised her. Her daughter actually reached out 2 to 3 times a week through calls, texts, or sharing family photos. The problem wasn't her daughter's effort, it was Evelyn's perception, shaped by expectations rather than reality. With this insight and the help of a therapist, Evelyn shifted her language. Instead of focusing on what she wasn't getting, she started to acknowledge what she was. She would say, "I really appreciated our call last Tuesday," or "Thank you for those pictures of the kids, they made my day." This change didn't just soften her daughter's heart, it rebuilt the emotional connection between them. Her daughter felt seen, not scolded. The key takeaway? When you stop using blame-laden absolutes and start expressing gratitude and genuine emotion, your conversations become invitations, not confrontations. Your children are far more likely to reach out when they feel valued, not criticized. As Evelyn discovered, replacing blame with appreciation can turn conversations into moments of connection rather than conflict. But when that loneliness lingers and emotions run deep, many elderly parents fall into an even more dangerous habit, using their mortality as a tool for guilt. The phrase "you'll regret it when I'm gone" may come from a place of pain, but it can have devastating effects on your relationship with your children. This expression often arises in moments of rejection, when plans fall through, calls are missed, or advice is ignored. You may feel invisible, forgotten, or unimportant, but saying "you'll regret it when I'm gone" doesn't bring your loved ones closer. Instead, it creates discomfort, fear, and emotional fatigue. Dr. Elizabeth Parker, a gerontologist and family counselor at the University of Michigan, explains, "Invoking your death as a way to gain attention or cooperation creates a traumatic emotional association. Adult children don't feel motivated, they feel manipulated. Over time, they begin to distance themselves to avoid that emotional burden." Take Robert, a 78-year-old grandfather from Denver. He deeply loved his children but often felt overlooked. Whenever his adult children declined an invitation or disagreed with him, he'd respond with, "You'll wish you had spent more time with me when I'm gone." He believed this would make them reconsider, but it had the opposite effect. His children began avoiding conversations altogether, not out of malice, but because each interaction felt heavy and guilt-ridden. The situation only began to change when Robert's eldest son gently but firmly confronted him. He explained how those comments made the entire family feel emotionally manipulated, not loved. With the help of a therapist, Robert realized that his statements were masking a very real fear, the fear of being forgotten or unimportant. Instead of guilt, what he truly wanted was connection. Robert began expressing those needs directly. Instead of veiled threats, he said, "These family moments mean so much to me. I hope we can create more memories together." This new way of speaking brought his children back not out of obligation, but love. The lesson here is powerful. Connection can't be forced through fear. Your presence, Your love and your shared memories are what your children will hold dear, not guilt-laden words. When you speak from the heart without emotional pressure, you open the door to deeper, more lasting relationships. One of the most important lessons from this story is that the way we communicate, especially with those we love, can either build bridges or silently create distance. As we grow older, it's natural to crave deeper connection with our children and grandchildren. But that connection must be nurtured with empathy, not expectation. Words rooted in guilt, blame, or nostalgia can unintentionally push loved ones away, even when spoken with the best intentions. Recognizing and changing long-held communication habits takes courage, but it is never too late to begin. True connection comes from vulnerability, sharing our feelings honestly without pressure or emotional weight. By replacing toxic phrases with kindness, curiosity, and respect, we create safe spaces where our children feel valued and understood. This shift not only heals old wounds, but also fosters richer, more joyful relationships in our later years. Your wisdom, love, and presence matter, but how you express them may matter even more. When we lead with compassion and choose our words with care, we remind our families that growing older isn't about becoming less. It's about becoming more understanding, more patient, and more open to the kind of love that endures through time and change. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Please share in the comments one insight you gained and how you plan to apply it in your life. Your feedback is invaluable and keeps us motivated. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your support enables us to continue creating content that informs and inspires. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.